This is our beautiful space for tonight's event and our industry track, which is full of incredible presenters, including our very, very first presenter. When I was planning out this conference, and I was like, all right, who's my guinea pig? Like, who do I need to stick at the front of Raleigh Union Station's programming? Like, Jaime, I'm sorry. There was nobody else I was going to put in this role because Jaime is just the consummate professional, just an incredible speaker. I had the pleasure of co-presenting with Jaime in Pennsylvania a few months ago, and I mean, it is a treat that we have Jaime here, and I know that this session is that like mind blow emoji, like I think we're all gonna experience that together. So, if you are ready to unlock the AI revolution for your team, please welcome to the stage, Jaime Hunt.
I don't know how to surpass Mallory's energy. When I presented with her, I felt like I was a granny presenting next to like the energy of a 3-year-old. No offense, Mallory, but I'm going to try to match Mallory's energy as best as I can. Thank you, everybody, for being here in beautiful Raleigh. I'm so excited to kick off the industry track and so happy to be here with you today to talk about how we can unlock AI for your team. I'm assuming everybody's in this room and at this conference because you love and appreciate AI or are at least interested in exploring it further. But I'm suspecting that you have some people back on your campus, back on your teams, that maybe haven't embraced it with the level of excitement and enthusiasm that you hoped. So hopefully, by the end of my presentation, you will have some ideas for how you can go back and unlock the AI revolution for your team. As Mallory mentioned, I'm Jaime Hunt. I'm the host of Confessions of a Higher Ed CMO on the Enrollify network. I've been on the Enrollify network for about 2.5 years now. I was one of the OGs on the network, and I absolutely love the podcast and bringing the great stories of a lot of the talented marketers in our industry. And I am no longer a higher ed CMO. Despite being Confessions of the Higher Ed CMO, I have quit my job to start my own company called Solve Higher Ed, where I do bespoke consulting for higher education institutions across the country. So I'm very happy to be here in a new capacity. This is one of my favorite quotes about AI. Generative AI has the potential to change the world in ways we can't even imagine. It has the power to create new ideas, products, and services that will make our lives easier, more productive, and more creative. This is Bill Gates, and whatever you think about Microsoft and Bill Gates, I still love this quote. And the reason I love it is because it hits on what I think are the 3 most important things that AI does. It makes our lives easier, more productive, and more creative. So a lot of people in the early days of using generative AI were really only thinking about it as generating copy, generating content. And it's kind of not that great at that unless you're really, really honing your skills, honing your prompt engineering, really training and creating custom GPTs. But it can do so much more than that. It can make your life so much easier and productive, and it can unlock time for you to be more creative. I also love this quote, which is, all great changes are preceded by chaos. And we are in chaos right now. I think we are living as though it is 1993, and the internet is either something that you're embracing with great enthusiasm, like my dad, who said, Jaime, get down here, I'm on a computer in Texas in 1994, or you're like, it's a fad, it's not gonna go anywhere, we're just gonna ride this out. And we're in that sort of space right now with AI, and I think that generative AI is going to have the kind of impact on our society and on our world that the internet has had. And for those of you who are at least as old as me, you started your careers probably not having email or not having internet access, and now try to imagine doing your day-to-day job without either of those things. I think that's where we're going to be with generative AI in the very near future. I always like to share a slide that shows my favorite AI tools. There are so many tools out there, right? But these are my favorites. ChatGPT and Claude are my favorite for general activities and for creating content. For image creation, honestly, Midjourney is so far ahead of the pack for me than these other 2, but I do like DALL-E and Adobe for creating illustrations, Midjourney for creating photographs. And then for audio and video, Pictory, which I haven't used that much, but I've watched my husband create some great things. He's here in the audience. Hi, honey. And Suno, which creates music. And it is, if you have not played with Suno yet, you really ought to. My husband created a love song for us. We celebrated our 30 years of knowing each other yesterday. He created a beautiful love song for us on Suno, but there's a lot of business use cases. You could create a jingle for your program. You could create a jingle for your college. There's a lot you can do with Suno. So these are my favorite AI tools. So the big question today is, how do we embed AI exploration into our culture? Because that's where we're at. We're at an exploration phase. If you're perhaps maybe not as old as I am and remember those pre-internet days, you probably remember the pre-social media days. And that was really an era of we're just figuring this out, right? There was no books to buy. There was no workshops to go to. This workshop is one of the first sessions in history that's going to exist around generative AI. We're at the very, very beginning of something that's probably going to be a gigantic wave. But how do we embed that exploration into our cultures to get people excited and playing around with and embracing AI tools? We know what the opportunity is with AI. There's content creation like that. And I'm not just talking about copy for websites or copy for Conflows. I'm talking about I need to send an email to the Director of Alumni Relations because she is sending out her newsletter as JPEGs, and that's not accessible, and it's causing lots of problems, and I have 10 minutes between meetings. I'm just going to have ChatGPT write me something, and then when it says, look, lady, you're doing something wrong, I'm going to ask ChatGPT to make it nicer, and I'm going to send it to her, and she's going to understand what the issues are. And it took me 2 minutes in ChatGPT. So we're not just talking about copy and content that's creative, but copy that just saves you time. Again, efficiency gains on administrative tasks, job descriptions, interview questions, any sort of administrative task that involves creating something, generative AI can help with. It's a brainstorming partner that's ready 24/7. You can spread your resources further. You can automate communications tasks. And it gives you a real-time feedback loop. This is the opportunity, among many others, of generative AI. But the obstacles that we run into with our teams is a lack of awareness of these tools. I did my first workshop for my campus community about this time last year. So ChatGPT had been in the world for about 7 months. And I had people in that workshop that had never heard of ChatGPT. There are still people who don't understand what it's for. With this chat, whatever. This lack of awareness really hinders adoption and exploration. There's also some technical intimidation. A lot of people, and it's an industry standard to refer to it as prompt engineering. But from my perspective, that really, really creates a barrier for people to feel comfortable playing around with prompting. And so I prefer to call it prompt design for people in creative industries because design is something we're comfortable with. But it can be very intimidating to think about having to know engineering. It's not. It's communication. You're communicating with the GPT or with whatever tool that you're using. And we all know communications because that's our business. There's a lot of skepticism, particularly the people who are only using tools like ChatGPT 3.5. ChatGPT 3.5 kind of sucks. The copy kind of sucks. And so if you went in and you did kind of a not great prompt and you got some not great copy, you're probably thinking, this is not a great tool. And you're not wrong. But that's something we have to overcome. There's also a lot of people who will say, well, I just prefer human interaction. And that's totally fair and fine. But there's things that we do with these tools that don't have anything to do with eliminating human interaction. They're speeding up our productivity. And then I have somebody on my team who's hopefully not watching right now, who was very concerned that ChatGPT is going to take his job. And so helping him to understand that that's not the case. What can we do? What can your knowledge of the tool make you future-proof? And there's limited training. This is one of the first summits. I mean, we've only had these tools for less than 2 years. There's just not that much out there. And the tools are evolving so fast. We know Claude just had a new release yesterday or the day before. And how do we stay on top of that? And that's intimidating. That's like trying to stay on top of the Facebook algorithm. That's like trying to stay on top of the Google search algorithm. And that can have people opt out and say, I'm not interested. So these are some of the many things I hear when I present workshops. And I have presented workshops to very skeptical people, which I hope if you're at this conference, you're not a skeptical person. Hopefully by the end of this session, you will not be if you are. But I've presented workshops to very skeptical people. One woman actually said, I intended to come in and rip you a new one and tell you how awful this was, this thing that you were going to be teaching about. And then I tried it. I tried some of the things you taught, and I loved it. So how do we get people who are so opposed to it? How do we get people who are on the fence, people who are intimidated or scared, to really embrace and explore the tools? So I have created, I guess the screens are here. So I created this model of an AI exploration journey that really starts with awareness. So what are the tools out there? What can you use them for? What are their capabilities? And it's just introducing people to this. And then we move into exploration, encouraging people to explore. And we want to demystify what these tools are capable of. And then move into skill acquisition. Now you're introduced to it. You're kind of curious about it. And now you're upskilling. You're learning a little bit more about prompt engineering. From there, I want my team to start monitoring, staying abreast of the trends. I want them to be telling me, hey, did you see Claude had a new release this week? I want them to be the ones that are kind of spoiling the news about generative AI. And then I want them to be moving into a space of evaluating which new tools and technologies that are out there are ones that we want to embrace and work into our workflows. And then we can start implementing those and then kind of start the process all over again. It's that sort of plan, act, assess, improved. We're just going to keep moving through this cycle of adoption of these tools. So how have I done that? The first, like I said, is building the awareness. So I have provided workshops for my team as well as other campus communicators on different ways that they could use generative AI. So we presented Introduction to AI, just a very basic, what is this? How do you log in? What's this blank screen? What do you do with it? And then a boosting your bandwidth with ChatGPT. For those people who were like, creating copy is cheating, creating copy is unethical, okay, cool, but can you boost your bandwidth? Can you schedule meetings faster with ChatGPT? Can you respond to emails more quickly? All of those sorts of productivity pieces that maybe overcome some of those, like I was saying earlier, some of those issues and obstacles that people have to adoption. And then we did a really deep dive into generative AI for the team. And really, really explored some of the really intense things that you can do. And then we are doing a workshop on data analysis. How do you use ChatGPT for data analysis? So there's something for everyone, and it all is intended to kind of, even though I'm like just trying to raise awareness, right? I'm also trying to overcome those obstacles with the tactics that are used to raise the awareness by giving people sort of a menu of, you never have to use it to generate copy if that's your concern, but you can use it for these other things. The next thing was to create a generative AI exploration team. So in my office, I have 2 AVPs. And I'm going to keep saying have because I'm like one day past not working there. So you're going to keep hearing me say that. But I have 2 AVPs and then numerous departments underneath those. And I asked for nominations for an AI exploration team from one person from each department that would commit to spending at least 30 minutes a week exploring generative AI, researching what new tools and what new upgrades are out there, and then sharing those and documenting their insights and what they've learned with the team. And then maximizing those people, the next step was to then create a Teams AI channel so that they could share, and they were encouraged, at least once a week, I need you to share something that you've learned this week about how to use generative AI. So we created this Teams channel, we've opened it up to the whole campus community, and then we were allocating time in our staff meetings for people to talk about what they learned about AI, what new tools, what new things did they try, what new use cases did they discover. And we asked for that to be a standing agenda item on not only their individual teams meetings, but also our full staff meetings. And like I said, we expanded this to include the communicators across the campus, and we invited some guest speakers who were not in our department to come in to talk a little bit more about how they're using generative AI. And these are some of the things that we heard after this awareness piece. I had no idea that ChatGPT even existed. I remember this person was like, wait, this is, the whole time I was presenting, he would just like raise his hand at random and be like, this is free? Is this an app? I just asked it a question and it answered it for me immediately. Is that right? Like, it was mind-blowing. His mind was blown. Having it be top of mind, working it into their workflow, by having this constant and steady stream, it keeps it from being forgotten. It keeps it from being tabled, being something that you don't pay attention to. The other thing that I do is keep it top of mind. I post a daily tip for either ChatGPT. I mostly focus on ChatGPT and Midjourney because that seems to be what my team is coalescing around. But I offer a tip every day about how to use these tools. Some of them are around prompt engineering. Some of them, as you can see here, are at the end of your prompt include the phrase, ask me questions until you have enough information to respond to the prompt. Or today's tip, don't blindly trust ChatGPT. I asked it how many A's are in USA, and it said 2. So that was like one of those little reminders that ChatGPT is not perfect. And also an acknowledgement for those that had concerns that I know it's not perfect. The other thing I did was create a competition. So I provided a use case, in this case, create an image that would that we could use to illustrate a story about coastal resilience. And told them they could use any of the image generation tools. And they had, I think, 2.5 days, and they had to, it had to line up with this story. Here's what the copy is, set a deadline, offered them a prize to the local ice cream store, and let them go have fun. And that allowed them to have sort of it's a use case that we might actually have, but it's something fun, and there's a competition here. So it's who's going to be the best at generating this. I've also created a number of custom GPTs to help the team. So how many people are creating custom GPTs? How many people want to be creating custom GPTs? Everybody's hand should raise. Okay, so custom GPTs, I built a brand voice GPT. So it was trained on our institution's brand voice. And this allows my team to be able to create copy that's in our brand voice. That's an enormous benefit to them, right? Because now they're not having to have, we all know, ChatGPT, we're going to dive into something. It's the ever-evolving landscape of higher education. Like, you know when it's ChatGPT-generated content. But if you're using a custom GPT that's trained on your brand voice, it definitely produces better copy, which helps overcome that barrier of it's just generating stuff that's not that good. I also created a content repurposing GPT that is designed specifically to help adjust copy for different channels. So you can put like a full news article in and say, create a Twitter post or an X post for this article, that sort of thing. And then an SEO optimization GPT, where they could upload web copy and ask it to integrate keywords into that copy. So all of this was to make their lives a little bit easier and to help them to see that there are ways that they could be using ChatGPT beyond what they're maybe imagining or beyond what they're maybe fearing. So for our member of our team who was afraid that his job was going to go away, having an SEO optimization GPT was a huge benefit to him because he could then say, I've created this copy. It's still something I've created, but ChatGPT has helped me make it more searchable and better meet our needs in terms of SEO. The other thing I did was create a prompt coach GPT, and this is a publicly available GPT, so if you want it, you can just scan this QR code to access it. The prompt coach GPT is really designed to help beginners learn prompt design. So it provides really clear explanations about why it's giving the guidance that it's giving. So it's not just saying, this is a better prompt, it's explaining why. It gives step-by-step guidance. If you say, I want to use ChatGPT to create social media copy, what do I need to keep in mind for a prompt? It will walk the user right through that. And it gives really, really good advice on prompting for different AI tools. So you can ask it, how do I write a prompt for Midjourney that's more effective, for example? Or how do I write a prompt for Pictory, for example? So it really walks you through that whole process. And that, I've been giving this away at all the talks that I give about generative AI because I feel like this is learning how to do prompt engineering, prompt design is probably the most important thing if you want to be able to harness AI, because it's only as good, what you get is only as good as what you put in. So that we've all heard the phrase garbage in, garbage out. So if I want my team to embrace AI, if I want my team to really, really explore AI, they can't get garbage out, right? Why would you keep playing with something if all you're getting is garbage? And so making sure that they understand how to create really effective prompts helps to ensure that they're not getting garbage, they're getting what they want out of the tool. And one thing I'm constantly reminding my team is it's called ChatGPT for a reason. If you don't get what you want, go back and say, this isn't what I want and why, and it will try again. Treat ChatGPT like it's an intern. You wouldn't ever say, intern failed, peace out. You know, you would give the intern guidance and feedback about what was a fail, what you were expecting, and what didn't hit the mark. Do that with ChatGPT as well. And so explaining that with my team has helped them to explore and expand and feel more like they're in control of the tool, and which gives them more incentive to adopt it. So my closing thought is that AI is not the future of technology. It's the technology of today that is shaping our future. It's not the future. We are here. We're in the future. And we have a choice. In this moment in history, we have the choice if we want to become dinosaurs or if we want to grow into the future as professionals. And I posted on LinkedIn that I believe that within the next 12 to 18 months, all marketing jobs, which is my field, are going to have in postings familiarity with generative AI tools. I'm not saying that you have to be proficient, but I'm saying within the 12 to 18 months that will be in every job description for a marketing professional. I think, and I got so much pushback on LinkedIn from some folks on that, because they have a lot of concerns about it. But I think that those very same people, if you would have asked them in 2007, are you going to embrace social media or not embrace social media? If they had said no, I can't imagine that 16 years later or 18 years later, they would still be working in this profession if they hadn't ever embraced understanding and at least having a familiarity with social media. And I feel that same way about ChatGPT and other generative AI tools. It is here, this is the time, and I think that as leaders, we have a responsibility to help our teams upskill and explore these tools so that they're on the forefront of this instead of catching up on the back end. So that brings me to the question and answer portion. And I guess I'm looking around because I don't know if there's a microphone or if people are just shouting.
Okay. Hi. So thank you for this presentation. So I know one thing, like obviously AI is great for our team, but if students see us using it for our team, how do we let students know that like they should not be using it for certain schoolwork and things like that? Because I know that that's a struggle for a lot of teachers.
Yeah, so I think that students need to learn how to responsibly use generative AI. And I think as institutions of higher education, we have that responsibility. And so I think if we're saying that we don't want our students to have their papers be written by ChatGPT, then we need to articulate why. Why shouldn't they have their papers be written by ChatGPT? And there's so many reasons, right? It doesn't show that they've not really necessarily learned anything, that they're not having to do any deep thought on the topic, and so on and so forth. But how could they be using a tool like ChatGPT to facilitate their learning? And it's something that I think I hear from faculty, like we don't want students using ChatGPT or other generative AI tools, period. And A, I don't think that's realistic. And B, I don't think it's responsible, because they're going to graduate and go into a world where they have bosses that expect them to know how to use these tools. So I think that if we as staff and as administrators are using these tools, we need to be able to articulate how we're using them, why we're using them, the ethics around how we're using them, and the ethics around how just having your paper write something for you is not good ethics, right? And making that case for them, because this isn't going to go away. They're using it. we have to be good role models for how to use it responsibly.
Can I add to that?
Yes.
I would also add that it helps if you are transparent and have an AI policy or an AI, you probably have a brand website. Sorry, my brain is. But if you have like a policy on AI and you say this is what we use it for, this we will not use it for this, we use it for this, and then it's just open to everyone to see, I think that's really helpful. I hope that's okay.
That's a great point. And I would hope that there are people in this room that would be involved in the development of those policies. And that's something I think institutions have been a little slow on adopting policies around how administrators will use generative AI. And that's something that I think that if you go back to your university, perhaps that's something that you take to your leadership and say, this is something we need to be thinking about. That's an excellent point, Jenny. Any other questions? Got one here.
When creating your generative AI exploration team, how did you go about picking the right people for the team? A lot of the times, we wear many hats, and a lot of people are so busy, to avoid getting someone that's going to cram and half commit and kind of participate, to actually get quality meetings and participation from that group.
Yeah, so the direction that I gave to my directors was to identify somebody who was already excited about it. Because I didn't necessarily, the temptation was like, well, maybe I should put this person who's really resistant on it. That person's not going to do it. You want the earlier adopters, the people who are on that bell curve toward the end that's like, yeah, I'm willing to try something new. So getting the people who are excited about it. The challenge that I did find was it was easy for people to put it on the back burner. And so that was part of, when I first started, I wasn't doing those daily AI, because I wanted them to be like, okay, I'm getting hassled every day with something. I need to remember to spend a couple minutes every day exploring it a little further. So I wouldn't just assign a team and then assume that in a month they will have done. You need to kind of stay on top of it until it becomes a habit, like any other habit. Got one up here.
What do you recommend doing to help convince leadership that they should take an interest in AI?
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a tough one. To me, I think if somebody came to me and pointed out the parallel between the internet and AI and social media and AI, I think that would be a compelling case for me. But I know a lot of people at the VP level are when you're a vice president, don't strive to be a vice president. It's the worst job. You don't do anymore, right? You're just in meetings all day, so who cares about ChatGPT or other generative tools? But I think making that case about we don't want to be dinosaurs, and look what other schools are doing. Look at where we're falling behind. That's the approach that I would take. That takes me up to my time, but is there time for one more question?
Going. Gone?
All right. Thank you very much.
Wow. Wow. I kept being reminded during that session of that cartoon where people are pulling the cart and it's got square wheels and everyone's sweating because it's like the same temperature outside. And then someone's standing back there and they're like, I've got the round wheel. And they're all like, I don't got time. Oh, the square wheel. The round wheel is AI. The round wheel is AI. And Jaime, I feel like you just like so beautifully gave everybody who is in this room all the ammunition they need to go convince leadership. Brian, that was the $1 million question. It was like, how do you do it? Send them the video of this recording. Like, seriously, that was incredible.